very wonderful guest who I'm actually meeting for the first time. But ladies, you'll love him because he's easy on the eyes. So yeah, I know how you guys love it when we have a very good looking guest on, and today's guest is definitely no exception. What I love so much about this live show, Chef AJ Live, that I started the day that sheltering in place started to create a sense of community and connection, is that most of my guests are referred by previous guests. And today's guest was referred by another fabulous guest, Robert Cheek. If you haven't heard of him, well, you are going to hear about him very soon because he is a vegan bodybuilder, and he is going to talk about how you can actually build muscles with plants. And his name is Korin Sutton. Welcome to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Hey, Chef AJ, how are you?
I'm good. Are you out of high school yet? Because you look pretty young to me.
Yeah, I'm about to turn 35.
Wow. You look amazing. Yeah. You know, what I love so much about your story is that it started from a place of compassion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I heard about how, first of all, by the way, today is Memorial Day. And one of the reasons when I went to your calendar and I could choose a date, I chose it on purpose because you are a veteran.
Yeah, I did 8 years in the military, 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. Fully active, served in Operation Iraqi Freedom 3 and 4, and then also as well the U.S. Navy Reserves. Did that for another 4 years.
Well, thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
It's amazing to me how that kind of set the stage for you becoming who you are today.
Yes, yeah, it played a significant role. Yes, it did.
Do you want to talk about that? Because I think the combination of serving in the military and a faithful lecture you saw in college sort of kind of made you who you are today.
Absolutely. So it all started when, like you said, when I was in college, and I was in the Navy Reserves at the time. And my major was criminal justice, because for me, I just wanted to do another uniform service. You know, I thought it would be an easy transition. And what ended up happening was I was able to see Gary Roski live come into my classroom, and he did this speech called it's called the best vegan speech ever. If you go on YouTube and Google it. And when he did that speech, it just definitely blowed my mind. It definitely opened my mind to different variations of thought, because I was the guy who, I mean, you're talking about like a guy who was a Marine, you know, now he's a sailor, like all about the military life and, you know, eating meat, drinking, like all this is like part of that lifestyle. It's like being hardcore a man, you know. And when I heard this speech, it's just that I never thought of animals in that particular sense, like how he made it, how he set it up with the ethics on animals. It just never crossed my mind. Yeah. And I guess I got that relationship from, or that where it kind of like made sense, was all the times I was in war. And in war, it's just like a dirty playground. It's like, you know, you're looking at a country that's upside down. There's no rules, no laws, no government. And it's just like everyone's there on survival. Yeah, like good guys, bad guys, and everyone in between is about survival. And when I saw like how many innocent people who, you know, they suffer through war, like it's not like a video game where it's just like good guys, bad guys. That's what we all experience. Even the media, you know, how they portray war, it's like good guy, bad guy. They just show you like all the, I mean, sorry for my French, but they show you all the cool shit, you know, rockets launching and stuff like that. And you're just like, yeah, go America, you know. But when you're actually in country, it's not like that. It's like there's a lot of people who suffer, a lot of poverty, because the whole economic crashes, like when there's no government. And a lot of people suffer, and a lot of people die in firefights, you know, bombs, terrorist acts, you know, sometimes military, you know, friendly fire. Like there's a lot of things that happen. And when you experience that type of reality, and then how Gary showed innocent beings, you know, innocent animals who just wants to live. Yeah, that's their only purpose is to live a peaceful life and live, but their reality is like a hell. and that's all they experience, it's a sad life when you kind of think about it. And I never thought about it that way. And that's when I was like, wow, like, I don't feel like a good person contributing to this if this is the way I get my meal on my plate. And once I decided to make the change, I started making that connection on how everything I was involved in had some type of pain, suffering, and violence connected to it, to my job, to my lifestyle, to what I ate. So, you know, this is why I do what I do now. I had to make a complete 360 to that.
Did you ever think about writing a book about the parallel between war and factory farming?
Yes, but I don't like writing books. So it's like, so I'm trying to find some help.
Hey, I can help you with that. I can help you.
Okay.
I think it's an important story to be told. Now, people are asking about the speech, and I want to make sure I pulled up the correct one on YouTube. Is it called The Most Important Speech You Will Ever Hear?
Best vegan speech ever.
Okay, I want to get the right links because everybody's asking about it. Everybody, including my friend Robert Cheek, is thanking you for your service. And people are commenting on all the trophies in the background. I'm guessing they're for bodybuilding.
All from bodybuilding, 3-time pro. So after I left once I ended up leaving the military because I saw that my life wasn't, there was no parallel. I felt like I was in a conflict of interest, you know, like how can I be compassionate and peaceful and be in an environment that consists of war? And this is during wartime, you know. I mean, maybe now it's a little bit better, but when I was in, it was like, if you're in, you're going to war again. Yeah. So I had to change. So once I changed, I started getting into, you know, personal training and stuff like that, fitness. And I wanted to do something to show people like, how can I promote veganism, but bring that wow factor? Like, you know, I see people protesting and stuff. And at the time, it's not like how activism is now, you know, like now I feel like it's way louder. I feel like it's really loud. But before it was like, it wasn't as loud, because when I kind of walked into the vegan community, it was just like, yeah, the first person I saw was actually Robert Cheek's vegan bodybuilding and fitness book and his group. He had a Facebook group. So when I walked into that and I saw like he did it, I saw a couple other athletes were doing it, like Giacomo, Tori Washington. I saw these guys, and it was only a few people. I was like, yo, maybe I should do this. And I talked to a couple friends, and they weren't even vegan, but they were like, dude, like you've been, because I was already vegan for a whole year already. So they were like, man, you've been vegan for a whole year. And I thought like you would definitely start eating meat again, but you actually look better. And they eat meat, and they were being honest. And they were like, yo, I think you could do bodybuilding for real. And they showed me some pictures of their friends, and they didn't look so great. So, so they're like, if they can do it, you could definitely do it. And they said, they definitely supported me and said like, you know, I think the whole vegan thing would be like really amazing, because they're like, you don't hear that stuff at all. So I started doing it, and my first show, I got second place. Yeah. So that's kind of how I connected with Robert as well, because obviously every time I won, I was posting in that group. That was the only group that I knew, you know. So it was like with vegans. So I was like, yo, look, I won. And people were like, yeah. And then I got some attention. And then you know, Robert hooked me up to being on I think it was called at the time, Plant Built. Yeah, he hooked me up to get into Plant Built.
Nice. Well, Robert just posted, you've won more competitions than I ever did. I think Robert has done for vegan bodybuilding what Miyoko Shinner has done for cheese.
Yeah.
They both revolutionized it. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Korin, why do you think that meat is so associated with manliness, whether it's the military or bodybuilding? Where do you think that came from? Like, if you're not manly, you don't eat meat.
It's like this male masculinity that comes from a lot of different things. Like, you know, first there's a lot of marketing behind it. You know, I would say that's probably like one of the biggest players. You know, you see it in every single commercial, TV ads, like everything. And then when it comes to our society and culture and religion, like it's kind of, males kind of play that dominant role of, you know, you have to consume animals to be more animalistic. You know, like I remember, because I was in the military is very aggressive. Like you have to have that aggressive character. Like you just have to, especially if you're in the combat unit, you know, you have to have that. I think that's more of a survival mechanism to keep you alive. You know, you can't just be like, oh, peace and love. And, you know, in a combat unit, like it just doesn't mix. So, you know, that animalistic nature, I remember I used to but cook my meat medium rare, just because I would say I'm more animal. It's not just a man, but more animal, because it's closer to my ancestors. I used to make up crazy fallacies, crazy things in my mind. But I think that's the main reason is just the culture. It's just, we kind of created it out of thin air and, you know, just started rolling with it.
Wow. Let's just say that you had to go back to the military right now for whatever reason. Do you think you'd be able to find something to eat as a vegan there?
Yeah, actually, yes, because I have clients that are in the military, and the PX stores, which is the commissary, where they sell like grocery stores and stuff like that. They've adopted some vegan meat alternatives and vegan food, like they have tofu and all that stuff. So it is adopting, you know, things are coming through. So yeah, I believe so.
Wow, that's great. But even in combat, like, I mean, I just can't even imagine. I mean, that's why really, when I say thank you for your service, I am such a wimp. I don't even kill bugs. Not because I'm vegan.
Yeah.
I just cannot imagine what it's like being in war. You know, I really can't.
Yeah, it's just it's something that I don't wish anyone would have to experience, because like I said, it's like I don't even know how I explain it. It's just like a reality that you think you're in a dream, you know, and until you're there. And when it comes to, like, you know, taking someone's life, it's like you know, you have to kind of have it in you or willing to, just because it's either yours or theirs, you know, like it's a flip of a coin. So like I said, it's a survival game when you're out there.
And you're so young when you go. You know, you're young when you go, right? You were a young person when you went, when you initially enlisted.
Yeah, I was young, and you know, like I was young, and I think because of my mind and my intuitions, you know, at the time, I just wanted to do something that was cool and respectable, and I wanted some excitement. I mean, I was 17 when I joined. You know, and you're talking about a guy who, you know, witnessed the Twin Towers fall, and, you know, getting pumped with social media, not social media, with the media, just regular news media at the time. And, you know, and I looked at in my family history, you know, my dad was in the Army, my granddad was in the Navy. So like just seeing that type of legacy, I kind of did it. You know, I wanted to do something cool, and I'll, you know, and I think it's also a lot of influence as a child. Like I used to play with GI Joes a lot. And I thought GI Joes was the shit. You know, it was like my favorite toy. So it's like, I think all of that, like, kind of just played that role, and I kind of just went with it. I was like, you know, and traveling, I think that was the selling point. That was definitely the selling point. It was the travel. They say you can travel and work and live your life. And I was like, man, I would love to see the world. And I always traveled as a child. So, you know, doing something as an adult to, you know, go to foreign countries and stuff, and you see the commercials, they look so cool. You know, it's just like, I want to be that, you know? So I think that's why.
Imagine if you had played with My Pretty Pony instead of GI Joe. Who knows what you say. Do they do anything to prepare you mentally in the armed forces for what it's really going to be like?
Yeah. So, I mean, with the training is pretty interesting, because like first, when you go through boot camp, it's all about just breaking your will. making you realize that, you know, who you think you are isn't that anymore. Yeah. So most of boot camp, and any military person who's listening, they'll know it's all a mental game. The physical part's like literally is the easiest part in boot camp. It's the mental breakdown. And once you get into the fleet, that's when you start doing real training for combat. And the training could be different because what they do is they put you in so many different scenarios. Like they have you, like, I remember I was in the desert for 8 months in California, just camping. Yeah. Before we even went to Iraq. Yeah. So like the time in the actual desert, I could say probably almost like a year and a half, I spent time just outside in the desert terrain. And I'm just talking about desert terrain. Because when we talk about vegetation terrain, like forests or something like that, I spent a lot of amount of time there too. So it's like when you're in combat unit, you're always like outside, you know? And when people tell me you want to go camping now, I'm like, nah, I want to do more camping. I'm like traumatized from it because it's been so, oh man, I spent so many times outside, you know, just days and days and weeks.
Were you at the 29 Palms?
29 Palms, yep.
That's near me. That's where I live near. I'm about 20 minutes away from
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know about it.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it's going to be 111 here all week. So, I mean, I could see that. You know, we have nice comments about your beautiful skin. People are asking how old you are, if you are able to tell us.
Yeah, 35.
Wow, I could be your mom. Okay, very cool. Now you talk about your clients, so I'd love to know what it is you do, because a few people have posted things like, I wish, these are females that are posting, I wish someone could teach, you know, more beginning type bodybuilding or bodybuilding for people over 60. So what is it you do, and what kind of clients would come to you?
I'm an online master fitness trainer and a nutritionist. So what I do is I help mostly people with fat loss. Yeah, that's my main concern around a plant-based diet, especially working with a lot of new vegans. And so when it comes to my program, I do help individuals to transition into a plant-based diet. And I have to be honest that because I deal with more new vegans, or sometimes I have to let them consume animal byproducts. And the only reason I do so is because that's the way I've transitioned. And I feel that if you do something too cold turkey and you throw someone like right into the fire of things, like they'll lose interest. And some people taste buds hasn't even developed the taste palates for certain vegetables. I mean, I'm eating people that, you know, you give them an eggplant, they're going to look at you like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know? So the disconnection, the relationship to foods is really gone. Like the only thing they know what food is something that actually comes in a packet in a freezer aisle, you know, pre-made. That's because it's all conveniency, and we're humans of nature to conveniency. So, I mean, that's why every time, I mean, I live in Miami, so every time I ride around any time of fast food restaurant in the evening, especially morning and evening, is packed around the line, especially now. Yeah, it's literally packed around the line. So conveniency is a big thing. So, you know, that's what I usually do, is really help people transition to more of a plant-based lifestyle. But it takes time, and everyone's at different levels. But majority of my clients, though, are, I would say, at least 90%, or not even maybe higher, 95 probably, is vegan. Yeah, pretty much vegan.
Nice. Were you a fit person even before you became a vegan bodybuilder?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty fit. You know, I was pretty fit. Like when it comes, I know when I was in the military, I was pretty fit. But when I got into the Navy, I definitely started putting on weight. And I think I just posted a picture on my Instagram actually today. Actually, I posted it. And when I was in the Navy, I started gaining weight, and the heaviest I got was like 225, and I'm about like 5'10". So it was 225. I think I was holding around like 18, maybe 20% body fat at the time. And that's not really healthy for a male at that age. You know, I was like 24, 25. So it's not healthy to be that heavy. And yeah, so like once I went plant-based, I definitely lost a lot of that body fat, and I gained more muscle on a plant-based diet.
That's great. Well, you're going to have to tell us how to do it. I'm just so fascinated with your military history, because I always think about if I got drafted, like what would I eat? And I don't mean just in terms of vegan, but I'm kind of a little bit of a snob. Like, was the food any good there, or was it kind of slop?
Well, I mean, at the time I thought it was good. I thought food was good as hell, but like now eating better quality food, it would suck. Like, and I'm not judging just because like it's vegan. I was vegan now, and then I wasn't vegan then. It's literally bad. Like the stuff I learned, and the stuff I know now about nutrition and food, the food that they were serving me is horrible. And this is why I'm very, very like, I count everything. I count all my macros. I'm very like strict on it, because with me, I know the stuff I ate in the past was really bad. For example, MREs, sitting out there in the desert, in combat and in training and all the training events, they always gave us something called MREs, which is rations. These are meal ready rations, right? And when you have these things, this MRE can last, I think the shelf life is like 7 to 10 years or something like that. So you want to talk about preservatives, that's like preservatives to the extreme. Like, and you're eating this stuff, and some of the stuff is highly, like, not just the preservatives, but some of the stuff is just highly processed. I mean, how can you have an MRE cheeseburger that can last for 7 years non-refrigerated? You know what I'm saying? So, and I used to think that cheeseburger was the best one, you know what I mean? And I should chow down on it. And when you look at the calorie intake, one MRE has about 3,000 calories. And I used to do 3 of those a day. Yeah. So, and they tell you like one MRE can survive you for a day, but we're all young, we're outside, you're doing a lot of active stuff. So obviously you're burning tons of it, but it's definitely not the right amount of fuel. It's not pure quality fuel that you're putting into your body. And so when I think about that stuff, that's why I'm so serious now, because I'm like, dude, I have to make up all the crap I put inside my body when I was in the military, and that's bad, but even as a child. Yeah. So
did you happen to save any of those MREs just in case?
No.
That would have been fun, because I used to go to a doctor that actually had a McDonald's cheeseburger, and at the time I saw him, it was like 4 years old and it still hadn't decompensated.
Yeah. These MREs, like I'm telling you, like I think they even last longer than what I'm saying, because I remember there was times that I found old MREs. Like we find a meal in some of the boxes, like, yo, where you get this meal from? I never saw this one, because all of them each box are usually new, and they have a certain number, and you remember the numbers, the order, you start learning the menu, but then you start seeing things that you never saw before, and certain things, and it just looks old. And like the cheese would separate from the oil and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I think this is something like from Desert Storm. And they're like, yo, just eat it, man.
God, that's scary. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody made some healthy vegan MREs?
It would be cool. It would be definitely cool. And I think there is a way of doing it, but at the same token, the government always tries to cut corners too. So it's like, it's like you're trying to find that middle ground. And when it comes to the cafeteria food, I remember that most of the cafeteria food is from the same MREs. They're just in bigger cases for some of the food, not all. Yeah. So that's another thing I have to think about as well.
Yeah, that might be a good product for you to be an entrepreneur for.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think like I mean, I think it's different because you have a lot of self-confidence, but do you think it would be difficult for some 17-year-old entering the armed forces being vegan? Like, do you think they would get teased by the other guys for not eating meat?
I mean, I don't know. Well, it depends first of all, it depends what branch you're in. I know, and it depends what job you pick, like, because I know, like, I was a motor T, so motor transportation operator. So I did a lot of logistics, and it was pretty hard unit. So it's like you have to have tough skin to be there. You just have to. You can't be. You can't be a softie. You have to have real tough skin. Because everyone cracks jokes really hard, and they get very, very personal. And it's one of those things, like, if you're 17 and you went through the same path, I mean, they didn't make fun of you, but like if you outshone everyone, then no one can't say anything. So it's not a place where people could just shun on you. Like it's a place where you could step up too, So like when people do shun, you just like, get a perfect 300 score on your PFT. That's very respectable. Like in the military, they respect a lot of things, be a master rifle fireman, shooter. People are like, man, this dude can shoot. His PFT score, which is a physical fitness test, is amazing. When you start showing people up like that, and like no one messes with you. Because you could just, you're better. You're the better Marine. So it's like, and all the higher ups will always put you in the spotlight when you're doing something great. So it's not like even if you're vegan, they'd be like, well, they'll probably say something smart like, well, that you guys want to be eating meat and crap and Domino's. This dude's killing it and everything. So it's like, and you're going to get rewarded and promoted. So it's a lot of benefits that you can really grow from. So if everyone's going to put crap on you, but like, you can always outshine it. And I think that's one of the benefits in the military, because it gives you that opportunity to do so.
That's so cool. One R2 asks a couple of questions. She says, is it possible for a mom to build muscle in her 70s when she currently has a lot of loose muscle, especially in the upper arms? And do you work with people differently based on their body type?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I work with people in there. I think the highest is probably 60s. I think I may have trained someone in their 70s, but mostly like 40s to 60s. But when it's someone in their 70s, yeah, I mean, it's so possible to put on muscle, as long as you're on a proper diet and a good workout regimen. And it doesn't even have to be something super aggressive. I don't know where you're at physically speaking, but if you already have like experience, then it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're like starting off like first time, then yeah, it might take a while. It might take a lot of work, but I'll always say nothing's impossible through exercise and diet.
Right. That's cool. So let's see, I have another question from Beverly about if she has a lot of loose skin from losing weight, that doesn't really just tighten up, does it?
No, and it depends, and because like first you have to build muscle, and it depends how much damage that was done during the weight gain. So when skin is stretched, it can be replaced by muscle. So that's why I always talk about losing body fat. I don't like saying weight loss. I always saying fat loss, because that's what you want to lose, is really the fat. That's what's causing the problems, the issues, the unnecessary actual weight that you have. But with the weight you lose, you do want to replace with muscle, because the more muscle you actually have, then that would tighten up the skin. Okay. You want to replace that. But there has been cases where if you're overly obese and the skin has too much damage and it's too stretched, even if you put on muscle naturally, it's just not enough to tighten it all. Then that's when it is required to either A, be comfortable of it, yeah, or B, you can get surgery, yeah, and they can, you know, do what they need to do for that. But that's the reality of stretch skin. Right. But if it's just like, if you're just talking about like a little bit of flab underneath the arm, you know, I mean, that can be tightened up, you know what I mean? So right. It's like,
that's good. That's good to hear. We always ask the guests at the very end what their food is, but we're getting so many questions. I'll ask it now. Simone is asking, who does the cooking in your house? Robert Cheek says, what are some of your new favorite daily meals? And Christina says, what are your macros like?
So the first one, I usually do the cooking, and actually now I actually entered ruby.com, which is an online cooking school. So I'm going in to be a certified plant-based cook. So I'm doing that because I want to, with the meal plans that I create for my clients, I really want to bring more like really professional dishes. And I want to learn more about not just about nutrition, but how you can play with flavors and tastes and really understand like the combinations of mixing food together. Yeah. Not just like from things I learned through, you know, just life and reading cookbooks. I know it's not enough, you know? So that's one. What was the other questions?
Robert wants to know, what are some of your favorite daily meals? And Christina asked about your macros.
And my favorite daily meals would be it has to be the tofu scramble. It's just, I'm just a sucker to it because it's one of those meals it's just really high in protein, and you're able to add in the best like fruits and vegetables into that dish. And what I usually add in there as toppings, because obviously there's the tofu, but you have like, I put in bell peppers, which is a great superfood, high in vitamin C, tons of nutrients in that. I use kale, and I don't know, you're wearing the kale shirt. Kale is just an amazing plant. If y'all don't know about kale, y'all need to look it up. It's one of those plants that's super amazing. Ton of potassium, iron, calcium, vitamin A, like protein, even protein, high in fiber. It's just one of those great superfoods. Onions, mushrooms, and then I put like the turmeric and the black pepper, which is a great anti-inflammatory, especially for someone that works out. You know, you're always, when you work out, you're always, the soreness you get after a workout is muscle tenders getting torn apart, like little microfibers being torn. So you want repair. And when you, obviously protein helps with the repair, but if you have more like turmeric and black pepper, this definitely helps with the recovery and the pain, because it's a natural anti-inflammatory. So it definitely helps with that. And I mean, the tofu scramble is just legit. That's why I like it. I really love it. It's amazing. And then I know I already asked you, but just remind me the last question. Sorry.
It's okay. Your macro regimen.
Oh, my macros. Yeah. So when it comes to my macros, right now I'm doing about like 170 grams of protein, about 150 grams of carbs, and 70 grams of fat. But I do something called a carb cycling technique. And it's a type of diet where, you know, certain days I'll eat like that. So I'll do like, you know, Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Wednesday, I'll eat like those particular macros. And then one day I'll boost up the macros, or I'll boost up my carbohydrates about to like 300 grams. I'll boost it up like pretty high. And then another 2 days, I'll have those low days again. And then another day I'll do something that's like 500 grams of carbohydrates high. It's very complex carb cycling technique that I do, but it's a more advanced way of dieting, but it is a way so I can stay lean and also continue to put on muscle as well. So that's why I do it.
Great. Dina Marie says, is there any particular plant-based doctor that you follow or resonate with in the way you choose to eat?
Yeah. So first is Dr. Michael Greger. You know, I read tons of his books and his articles. Also, Dr. Brooke Goldner. I'm still reading her book. I'm kind of going slow on it right now, but right now I'm reading this one by Dr. Brooke Goldner, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. and she actually reversed her. She used to have lupus, and she actually reversed it by herself as a doctor. So like, if you can reverse your own disease, I think you know what the hell you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's like crazy. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, man, she knows what's up. And she's also helped tons of other people as well. And then Dr. Angie Sadecki, she's really good. I like following her, and Dr. Neil Barnard.
Yep, great. Julie says, while weight training at the gym, is it best to focus on a different area such as arms, chest, legs, etc., or do full body HIIT cardio daily?
When it comes to it's like the HIIT training, right? Yeah. So when it comes to the training, it really depends on your fitness goals. So and when it comes to the combinations, there's no real thing to say what works best. Because I've done split routines for a very long time, just like the old school chest and tries, back and bis. And I did that all for bodybuilding. But now, because I'm home, I do more HIIT training. That's why, and I used to consume a lot more protein when I was doing bodybuilding in the gym. Yeah, because the training was just different. But now I'm doing more HIIT and full body weight training. So when it comes to the full body weight training, it's not a lot of heavy weights. It's more, it's really more functional training, actually. I do more full body stuff. I probably do that 2 or 3 times a week, but everything else I do is usually HIIT. And I do that just because of limited equipment. I'm working on different elements of my body that has weakened since I got into bodybuilding, because bodybuilding, I was more focused into hypertrophy training, which is, just lifting heavy, triple sets, drop sets, like all these things, just repping bunch of heavy weights, put things up and put things down. And before I got into bodybuilding, I used to do a lot of functional training when I was just a irregular trainer, which was more focused around like, fat loss and regular people who just want to have more mobility. And I kind of got back into that because I lost a lot of mobility. Doing bodybuilding training just creates a lot of stress onto the muscles and makes everything contract and tight. That's why I don't really see a lot of flexible bodybuilders doing a lot of stuff, right? So being at home, I was like, well, I'm not going to spend like thousands and thousands of dollars to try and make my apartment into a full gym. I'd rather just, work on some of my weaknesses and just go from there. Bodybuilding shows aren't going to start up no time soon. I want enough trophies, is it really a big point to be that obsessed to do it like once it opens again? Nah, not really. I mean, for me, bodybuilding is for fun. It's recreation, activism, it's not that heavy for me. So that's why I got into the HIIT again, worked on my endurance, worked on my cardiovascular performance, started doing way more yoga, like doing yoga 3 times a week. Cause I'm like, wow, my hip flexors are super tight, glutes, hamstrings, everything's tight, shoulder mobility. So really, recovering the body and opening myself up more helped. So, when it comes to training, it sounds, from what she told me, it sounds pretty legit, but you really have to figure out like what's your actual fitness goals to make sure it aligns to that. Yeah. So if it's like building muscle and just being ripped, it sounds pretty legit to me. Yeah.
You would love my hip flexors, Korin. I'll send you a picture. I can do this kind of splits and boom.
Whoa, wow.
It took 7 years though. It took 7 years to work. I couldn't always do it. I started yoga at 52 and 7 yeyears later, I could finally do the splits.
Wow. Yeah. It's probably going to take me like 30 years. That's so funny.
It's always good to have a goal. Zena wants to know, how do non-vegan bodybuilders respond to you? Hostile, indifferent, curious?
They're pretty curious, more curious. I never got heat for it, and I think just because like I'm not trying to bloat myself, but I'm in phenomenal shape. And so is everyone else in bodybuilding. So, you know, it's just like, I think it's just like a respect of athletes. You know, it's not like I'm walking in there looking all scrawny and stuff. It's like I look like I could win, you know, and they're looking at me, I'm looking at them, and they're like, damn, like you just eat plants. I'm like, yeah, yo. And they're like, shit. Yeah, so it's like, so it just makes them aware. And I do, you know, a lot of people do ask a lot of questions and things like that. And I even, you know, influence a couple of bodybuilders to go plant-based or even go vegan. They came back to me a couple of years later, like, yo, I met you at a show one time, we competed, and you know, I started following from then. And you know what, now I'm vegan, man. I started trying it, and a couple of years later down the road, I'm vegan. So yeah, definitely what I'm doing is definitely influencing people. But yeah, it's pretty cool. No, but no heat from the other bodybuilders still.
That's really neat. Layla wants to know, have you ever assisted people that want to actually put on weight and fat?
People who want to put on weight on purpose and fat on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever had someone who wanted to do that?
Yeah. Have you ever?
No.
Yeah. I know it doesn't come up very often, does it?
No, not to like. I mean, if you mean like in a sense like a bulking, like if they want to put on muscle and then put on body fat on purpose, yeah, I've done that. Like, and it's not like the fat that we're saying. It's like they're putting on extra body fat, which still can consist them in a healthy range when it comes to health. And so they're able to put on more muscle a lot faster, because even what I'm doing, like the technique I'm doing, it's not optimal for building muscle. It's just not, but it is optimal to have both, you know, have both. And because I'm online trainer and you know, I do a lot of stuff on Instagram, it's kind of like I have to kind of, you know, I guess you have to stay with the status quo, I guess, because that's what everyone wants to see. Everyone's super ripped, so I can't have a life, right? So it's like, that's why I do it. But like, but if for when I'm training a client, I like training. I like training with someone who wants to build muscle, because I can keep on giving them food and they're enjoying it and they're loving it, because like they're having everything I can't have, and like almost every day. But it's in a control environment. So it's not like they can have whatever they want and they're drinking soda and all this stuff. No, it's like you're eating a high caloric amount of food. You're being in a surplus, but you're filling up with mostly foods that's very healthy, a lot of nutrient dense food. So you get more benefits out of it. And you're keeping your body fat level at a good level where you're not too overweight, where it becomes actually counterproductive. So I do deal with people in that type of matter, or that sense.
Nice. Now, do you work with them in person, online, virtually, through Skype? How would somebody?
All online. Pretty similar to this. Like with Zooms, we'll have like a check-in call like this. We'll go over your progress. We do this like every 2 weeks. Every week, I usually have a private class in my private Facebook group, and I teach about health, fitness, nutrition, and then with the program, the whole program runs online. So you get your own private app that's all customized. All the programs are customized. You'll have access to speak to me anytime you want. We have 24-hour support, and within that program, we'll check like your photos, weight, your body fat. We also have daily accountability on everything. So it's pretty, there's a lot of support in the program and a lot of accountability.
That's wonderful. Christina says, if your goal is to have a low BMI but not build muscle, what is the best type of training?
If you have a low BMI,
it sounds like she doesn't really want to build muscle. She just wants a low BMI, looking for the best type of training.
Oh, she's just trying to lean out. Well, if you're just trying to lean out, I mean, you definitely have to be in a caloric deficit. You know, so you have to be burning more than what you're actually consuming. So if you're not doing that and if you're not losing weight, then you're not in a caloric deficit. That means whatever you're eating calorically, you're not in that deficit yet. So you have to definitely bring it down a notch. I always say, you know, the easiest rule of thumb is whatever you're eating now, just subtract it by 500 and see what happens. Yeah. And do that for a week or two. And then if you don't see no results, do another 500. Yeah, that's the best. Like if you try and do it on your own, it's probably the best thing. And you can you could Google like calorie calculators, macro calculators that's out there. You know, they could give you a number and then you could just go from there. Yeah, that's the best thing. But if it's just too complicated, then definitely get a professional who can work with you.
Well, that was one of the questions. Is there a certain macro calculator or app that you recommend?
Well, one of the things first you could do Google any calculator. You know, they can tell you if you're trying to do it by yourself. But then if you want to count your calories and make sure you're getting everything down, then you can use MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. And these two apps are the best. I personally use MyFitnessPal because that's how my program, we use MyFitnessPal, and that app is integrated with our systems. So you can use that to keep track of what you're consuming. And then also and you can learn a lot about like nutrition, how much nutrition you're getting into your diet and all that stuff. So that's one of the benefits of using that. Because if you're just like counting calories and you're not paying attention to like your fiber intake, iron, calcium, things like that, you could go deficient, you know, so in vitamins and minerals. So you want to make sure that you're definitely eating the right proper foods, not just hitting your calories and your macro intake, but also your vitamins and minerals as well.
That's great. Isn't it true that your mom improved her diet improved her health with a vegan diet?
Yeah. So she had she was diagnosed post-diabetic, and they were about to put her on drugs and insulin and all that stuff. And when she talked to me about it, I gave her the vegan talk. I was real with her. I wasn't joking around, and I didn't give her like the soft hand. I was pretty stern in the conversation. And then she pretty much went vegan. And then once she went vegan, then she lost a good 50 to 60 pounds of weight. And now she doesn't have to take any type of medications, which is good. But I mean, I'm still working with her though, because I want to be honest, she still needs to lose more weight. I mean, the only thing I was able to do is not get her put onto the drugs, but she's still considered overweight. So that's what I'm trying to work on now, to even lower that so she could be in better shape.
That is great. A lot of times when I interview people, I love to know who inspired them. And that's how we started out with your interview. I just asked that to Dr. Colin Campbell on Friday, but I'm wondering if Gary Yourofsky knows that he was the impetus for you to change your life in this dramatic way.
I don't know if he knows, to tell you the truth. I don't even know if he knows. Because he wasn't really big on emails and stuff. I always knew he wasn't really that big on emails, and I knew certain people had special connections with him, and I know I've talked to those individuals and they said they'll tell him, but I don't know if he actually knew. Because after the class, that's the guy I talked to. I walked straight up to him in his face, shook his hand, and I was like, "Hey man, I'm pretty serious about this." And I asked him probably it's one of the dumbest questions that we all hear. It's not that dumb, but at the time it was where's the protein? So I was like, where's the protein, man? Yeah. And he just told me go adapt.org. And, there's tons of alternatives out there. You could start off there. And that's what I did. I just went there and then going from that site, it just led on to the next site and to the next site. And again, there was, social media was at its infant stage. So it wasn't there was information. I just type in vegan and just tons of things would show up. It was pretty hard back then to find things, So knowing about adapt.org, it just kind of connected because they had tons of other supporting websites and stuff that was available.
Well, I keep posting the link to that lecture. It has almost 5 million views, and maybe other people will be inspired, because I bet he would be very happy to know that he changed the trajectory of your life. I remember when I interviewed Josh Lajani, he used to weigh over 400 pounds, and it was because of a I'm so bad with sports, New Orleans Saint Super Bowl win. That, I mean, so I just always find it interesting what made somebody change. And I think the person, I bet if I'm going to see if I can contact him, who knows, for an interview and tell him, hey, you did this. And Elspeth, who's watching, saying it was the Gary Yourofsky speech that solidified her decision to go vegan after she watched Forks Over Knives. Dina Marie wants to know if you have a YouTube channel, or is mainly the way people get in touch with you through Instagram, your name on Instagram?
Mostly through Instagram. I'm the most active there. So if you want to get in touch with me, I'll definitely, you're going to get a way faster response if you go on Instagram versus anything else.
I think that's a young person thing, because that's my least. But I'm going to have to follow you now, because now that we're friends. So, I heard you say in one of, you've done a lot of podcasts, and that's how I learned mostly about you. And you said something that I thought was really interesting, that there's no such thing as an ex-vegan.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. So the ex-vegan, because I feel, and this is personally my opinion, it's I just feel like there is no such thing as an ex-vegan, and this is why. One of the reasons why is because, let me turn on my light because it's getting a little dark.
But now we can finally see your body.
One of the reasons why is because, like, when I was in the military, they always told me, like, it doesn't matter if you get out of the Marine Corps. Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine, right? And you can ask any Marine. You can't call a Marine an ex-Marine. You like, the only way you could call someone an ex-Marine is if they got like really in bad trouble, and they got kicked out dishonorably. But as long as you got honorably discharged or medically, like some type of good discharge, and you did time, you're always that Marine. And the reason they say that is because the Marine Corps is one of the smallest branches in the world, but one of the strongest in the world, believe it or not. And with the Marine Corps, they have a big history, and they have a lot of traditions and camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood, and it makes the unit very cohesive. So being with that, and everything you share and you learn about other Marines that also fallen and served before you, you carry that new torch, and you're proud to be a Marine. That's why even the commercials are probably like the one, like, it looks cool, but it's always listen at the end what they said: the few, the proud, the Marines. It's like, because you come out proud. I remember when they gave me my Eagle Globe and Anchor. It's right here. They gave me this Eagle Globe and Anchor. I started crying over this little thingy, little trinket. Why? Because when they give it to you in boot camp, you're not a Marine. You're just some piece of scrub. You're nobody, right? But when you graduate and they're like, you're a Marine, you're like, oh, you're like, yeah. So, and it's still, I still have it till this day. So how important it is. It was like one of the biggest achievements, a milestone in my life. And so, getting back to the ex-vegan, when I look at veganism, and when I took that oath, to myself, just how I took an oath to be in the military, I took that oath that, like, I'm doing this for compassion. I'm doing this for the ethics and animals, like that's the oath. And I feel that some people, when they take this name, they're like, they look at it like words, whatever, vegan, whatever, it doesn't mean anything, but to some people it does mean something. And I feel that, when you take on an oath on like preservation of life, that's something pretty deep. It's the same oath that police officers do, medical officers do, firefighters, military, anytime in uniform service, they take on that job, that title, because it's most, at the end of the day, is to save lives. So I relate that, like, to my dietary lifestyle and that term, the same, because that's what I'm doing. I'm preserving life as much as possible. I mean, I can't say it's perfect, yeah, but as much as possible. And when someone just say they're vegan and then they just say they're not, I was like, well, you were never vegan. You just never were, because it was never instilled here. Yeah. For you, it must have been just a dietary thing. It wasn't that important for you. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
that's how I look at it, you know.
Laurel's saying, I love this guy. I love that too, because I have been vegan for 43 years. And yeah, even if it was to save my life, I just can't imagine just, you know, like you say, like once a Marine, always a Marine, once a vegan. If you're really a vegan, you're always going to be a vegan.
Yeah, you're always a vegan.
No reason. Yeah. I love that about you. Thank you. Robert's asking if you could talk about a television appearance in Europe you did.
Oh yeah, that was last year. I mean, they played the show this year in January, but and it's still on there actually. It was called Ville. So we filmed it last year in the UK in Cardiff, United Kingdom, and Cardiff is like a small little town. And our job, I was connected with other vegans. One of the biggest ones was Joey Carbstrong. He was part of that show as well. And what we did was we were trying to convert the whole town to go vegan, or at least, you know, convince majority of it. But the town is a farming town. Like the history of farming is deep. Like it's so deep. You're talking about like 3 to 5 to 7 generation farms, you know? So like when you talk to the people, and you try to talk to ethics, it's kind of hard, because it's like, it's life. Like farming is life. And they feel that. And when you hear their stories, it's like, that's all they know. Like even if you give them alternatives, like, why won't you, if you're a dairy farmer, you're growing like wheat, corn, and barley on your farm, so you get subsidies from the government. So why won't you just get rid of the cows and then maybe invest into hemp or something like that? You know, like hemp's the new thing, is, you know. And they're like, no, because we're thinking logically, they're thinking family tradition and history. So it's very, very tied. But it's definitely a great show. You can watch it on, you can watch it here in America. Actually, it's on YouTube. Just type in Veganville, episode 1. You can watch all 3 episodes there. And if you live in the UK, you could also watch it on BBC 3 iPlayer. It's on that. And also, if you live in America and for some reason you just want to watch it on BBC 3 iPlayer, you can get a VPN, so you can do that as well. But you can just do it on YouTube.
That is great. Thank you. That sounds great. Robert is thanking you for being on the show today. He says he loves you, bro. And I think we have time for one more question. And people just love knowing what our guests are eating. And so they're asking if you could specifically, Sherry says, can you walk us through what you eat in a day, especially while lifting and building muscle? Thanks.
Yeah. So first, the tofu scramble. I'll just tell you what I had today. So I had the tofu scramble, which I usually have most mornings. Then for a snack, I just had a simple protein shake by Clean Machine. That's like all the supplements you see behind me right here. So just a simple shake from that. Then I had some seitan and some kale salad. And then I think I'm going to probably end the day with some fruit, with a couple of fruits, or a fruit ice cream. Because because the weather's been, the weather kind of sucks today. It's all raining and stuff. But like, because the weather got a lot hotter, I've been doing a lot more ice creams with the fruits, or you could say sherbets or something. So I've been doing a lot of those lately, especially late at night. So, it's pretty good.
So we know what you're doing late at night. I love the fruit ice creams. I put it through the champion.
Yeah.
It's so good. Are you in Florida? Are you?
Yeah, Florida. Mm-hmm.
Right. What part of Florida?
Miami.
Oh, wow. Oh, good to know. No. Well, what you said, it sounds like you eat a whole food, even though you're vegan. You eat whole foods. I didn't hear any junk food in there.
Majority of the time I do, but like, I mean, I have my fair share of it. But I feel like the more I know, like with me, I had different phases through my life. And I know I started off with whole foods in the very beginning, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't like organic. I was doing like canned foods and non-GMO stuff, but I was college life, so when people say like, oh, it's too expensive, I'm like, well, I used to be a college student and I was broke and I was eating out of cans. So it's better than nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'd rather eat vegetables from a can than eating a piece of meat. And that's what I did. Yeah. So it went from that to, obviously as I learned more, but then obviously going through the whole transition of new processed foods coming out, like when Gardein first came out, I think that kind of threw away the whole food plant-based diet for a while. I was just buying everything because before it was just like, oh, rice, string beans, tofu, cool. And, I might have some tofurkey from time to time. And then when Gardein started coming out and, Beyond Meat and Impossible Burgers, I'm like, holy moly, it's like you can have everything now. But yeah, again, the more you start learning, because even during that time when all that processed foods came out, a lot of doctors weren't coming out with books, and then when the doctors started coming out with the books, then you start seeing a lot of the processed foods getting eliminated out of my diet. And then when you get older too, as well, you start thinking more, because the more I read, I start thinking more about my past. And I'm like, damn, I'm still need to make more changes. Like, just because I'm vegan, like, I'm not in a safe spot. Like, I have to eat more plant-based foods, like to really repair the body, to really sustain health. So, majority of the time it is, but still, like, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I don't, like, if you look in my fridge now, the only thing you're going to find is a few things, but it's not like filled like it used to be. Like, oh man, buy one get one free BOGOs in Publix. I used to dominate on that. On the Guardian stuff, but now not anymore. It's mostly Whole Foods.
That's great. Lola Bean says, are you taking on new clients? I think he's my guy.
I am. Just hit me up on Instagram. And if you want to just check out my website, it's bodyhdfitness.com. So you can always check that out as well.
So spell it for me and I'll type it in. Body HD?
Yeah, bodyhdfitness.com.
Okay, I'll just type it in the chat and we'll put it in the show notes as well. Well, it has been such a pleasure getting to know you. You're just delightful. And I really appreciate all you're doing now for animals and people and what you did before for our country. So it sounds like you having a good life so far. And I wish you just success in everything you do going forward.
No, thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your show. It's been amazing to meeting you and talking to you as well.
It is my pleasure. Take care. And thank you guys for watching. Please come back at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning when we'll be talking to cheese entrepreneur Miyoko Shinner. Thanks again, Korin. Take care.
All right. See you later.